morning to everyone. Today is 28th December 2024. We are about to end this year and to start the new year 2025. And my listeners asked me to make a critical analysis on the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And today I'm going to debate on how this war started, and also I will explain why Ukraine is very important in this conflict, especially in global politics. And also I will explain some of the root causes of this conflict. And you cannot analyze this conflict without understanding how Cold War ended. And a Cold War was just an antagonism between the blocs which had already ended World War II. And on the one hand, you have the United States of America, which was spearheading the ideology of capitalism. And on the other side, we have Soviet Union with the ideology of communism. We had also to understand that this conflict of Cold War was just indirect conflict in which the countries which were confronting, they did not had an open conflict, but they had what we call proxy wars. It is also understandable that apart from this confrontation, there were also what we call military alliances. On the one hand, on the Soviet Union, they had what we call Warsaw Pact, and the Warsaw Pact was just an alliance of all the countries which were fighting or opposing the capitalism. And on the other side, we had what we call NATO, and NATO is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And some of the countries which were making this organization of NATO, we have, of course, the United States of America, the entire West Europe. We have France, for example, United Kingdom, and the other countries. And on the other side of military alliance, the Warsaw Pact, we have, of course, the Soviet Union and the other satellite countries such as Poland, Bulgaria, Hungary, and even across the world we have Cuba, for example, China. So all of these were a member of this bloc. And of course, we could understand that though this Cold War started just after the World War II, it is going to weaken or to get the problems, especially on the side of Soviet Union, because the Cold War is going to end in 1990s with the weakening of the side of the Soviet Union. And why is this important, especially in the explanation and clarification of these conflicts in Ukraine, is that just on 9th February 1990s, we have a very important event which happened to weaken this bloc of communism, because this is the date when there was an agreement between James Baker, who was the state secretary of the United States of America, and Mikhail Gorbachev. They had an agreement following which the Soviet Union was going to allow the German unification, and in response, NATO was also supposed to make an agreement that it would not expand eastwards. So this is a core of this conflict we are having in Ukraine, because in the following years, the United States of America is not going to honor what they have agreed upon with Mikhail Gorbachev, because as we are going to see, in 1994, the United States of America started now to expand towards east, and the same year the NATO expanded, and it integrated the countries such as Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic. And we know that these three countries used to be the satellite countries under the influence of Soviet Union. So in 1994, of course, Obama also is going to take part in this confrontation. All the presidents of the United States of America, including Clinton, for example, in 1994, the integration of these countries, which I have mentioned, Clinton himself had saying that no country will prohibit the United States of America to integrate or to expand eastward. And of course, in 1990s and 1994, 1996, so we are going to see that the behavior of the United States of America is going to just to escape from this agreement. Some of the agreement which the United States of America were agreements that it had already concluded with Soviet Union. For example, in 2002, the US started to work out this agreement related to the security, the word security. For example, in 2002, the United States of America worked out the anti-ballistic missile treaty that they had already concluded with the former Soviet Union. And in 2003, we are going to see that the United States of America is going to invade Iraq on the ground that it had weapon of massive destruction. And the analysts noted that this was based on a false statement. So that's why, since the NATO was allowed to attack Iraq, some analysts are going to say that since UN provided this green light, UN started also to be discredited by other nations, because it is the one which gave the United States of America and the NATO to invade Iraq. And in 2011, we are going to see the same scenario. The NATO and its allies in Europe and the United States of America are going to topple down the regime of Libya. And of course, since 2004, NATO is going to continue its expansion in the East. Some former Soviet Union allies such as Latvia, Slovenia, Estonia, Slovakia, Romania, Bulgaria also integrated in NATO. An integration which is going to be a worry on the side of Russia. And remember also, Russia inherited from the Soviet Union. Though Soviet Union collapsed in 1990s, but Russia remained as a symbol of this former empire. And of course, there are some important points also to mention. For example, with the disintegration of Soviet Union, Russia had already agreed upon with Ukraine that Ukraine must keep the status of neutrality. So that's why when the United States of America started to invade or to intrude the political matters of Ukraine, it is going now to have a negative impact on the side of Russia, because Russia saw this as threatening its sovereignty. So that's why in 2004, 2005, we are going to see that the United States of America started to engage in political matters, internal political matters of Ukraine, an intrusion which is, of course, is going to threaten Russia. And of course, the United States of America are in front a new president, Yushchenko, who was also pro-West. So this is going to worry about the security of Russia. So that's why, of course, the Ukrainians were aware that this antagonism may also result into an open conflict. So that's why they started to walk away from this antagonism, and they just elected a president who was considered as neutral, and this president was called Viktor Yanukovych. And of course, this is not going to make the United States of America happier. So that's why in 2014, the United States of America is going to topple down this president, and Obama was heard talking about this, that he observed, and also the United States of America was involved in the organization of toppling down of this president. This situation is going now to make a serious worry on the side of Russia, because Ukraine, which is considered as a neutral country, now is going to be under the political and economic influence of the United States of America, which of course constituted an existential threat to Russia, because Ukraine is a geostrategic country. So in my analysis, of course, I must also explain what is a geostrategic country like Ukraine. So a geostrategic country is a country whose location, resources, and military capabilities has strategic significance in global politics. So we see that Ukraine also is among these countries which are across the world are considered as geostrategic countries. Specifically, Ukraine as a geostrategic country has the following characterizations. First, its location, which intersects between the West, Russia, and Asia, is very important, because you see we have two hegemonies, even if Russia had been weakened sometime, but in recent years it became a hegemony because it has been increasing its powers, its influence across the world. We have also the West, especially this organization of NATO and Western Europe. We have also to understand that Ukraine also has military capabilities. It's understandable because since this war broke out in 2022, it still has the resistance against this hegemony of Russia, and Russia is a superpower country militarily and even economically. So you see, this is very important. Another element to mention is that Ukraine also controls a vital energy transit route between the East and the West, because all the oils and gas from Russia to the West, to Europe, passes through this country. So you see, this is also a strategic element not to forget to mention. Of course, the last point, which is also very interesting, is that Ukraine has a potentiality for shifting the power balance between the East and the West. So that's why this battlefield between the United States of America and Russia are just hinged on the capability and the influence to have upper hand on this country, Ukraine. So that's why some of the people may see this conflict and understand that it is a conflict where Russia attacked Ukraine, but there are some historical ramifications that the people should understand. Of course, we are going to see that as a geostrategic country, and also other historical background which I have mentioned, Russia tried also to make some responses and of course some arrangement in order to avoid the confrontation. For example, of course, some steps made by Russia were exclamatory. For example, in 2014, as a response to the toppling down of a president who was neutral, who I have mentioned, now Russia is going to annex Crimea. It was just like a retaliation. In 2021, in December, Putin, the president of Russia, tried to understand with the United States of America. He brought on the table of a negotiation some of the agreement based on which this confrontation would be stopped. And some of the points that he mentioned to the United States of America and the West, of course, was a key element which I have referred to with the end of the Cold War, NATO expansion. So he suggested that NATO would not expand in the East. And another important element which he mentioned was that Ukraine would just respect the rights of the population of Russia, originating from Russia, who were speaking Russian language, because when Yanukovych was toppled down, the extreme leaders started now to violate the rights of the Russian population, especially those in Eastern Party. So these are some of the points that Russia presented on the table of negotiation or mediation, but the United States of America and the West refused these points. So that's why in 2022, we are going now to see the special military operation waged by Russia against Ukraine. Of course, it had a justification of responsibility to protect. Responsibility to protect should be understood as a mechanism under UN, United Nations, following which, when there are problems or violation of part of the population, any country may deem it necessary to make an intervention to restore peace and security. Of course, after 5 days, of this conflict, Turkey tried to block a mediation which, when it was about to be agreed upon by Ukraine and Russia, of course, Russia points of negotiation was to stop Ukraine to fall on either side or another, to keep its status of neutrality. The UK and the United States of America told the President Zelensky, no, don't accept this provision. We are going to give you weapons to continue the escalation. So this is very important because most of information we find on the media, they will always talk about Putin as a new Hitler who is going to conquer the entire Europe and so forth. So there are some historical ramifications which should be understood which when we are analyzing such conflict. Of course, as I have mentioned in my introduction, we must understand also some root causes, especially on antagonism, the historical background of antagonism between Russia and UK and the United States of America. So the history tells us that this antagonism goes back in 1840 when the British Empire got an idea that Russia was threatening the British interests in the Central Asia. So this antagonism is going to contribute to a war over Crimea. And at the end, of course, Russia is going to lose this war. And of course, this Russophobia did not disappear. So some of the antagonism we are seeing in this conflict, Ukraine, we see how UK and the United States of America are very aggressive, especially in the prohibiting any brokered mediation. So even at the end of World War II, Churchill, who was the Prime Minister of UK, was heard saying that though they vanquished the Soviet Union, Stalin was not invited. So that's why Churchill will ask the United States of America President Truman, who was going to be the next enemy to fight. And Churchill proposed Soviet Union to be fought. Of course, Truman was wise, and he told him that that was not a proper time to fight against Soviet Union. So you see, roughly, a brief information to sum up is that all agreements that had been concluded between the former Soviet Union and, of course, with Russia, which inherited from this Soviet Empire, have not been respected by the United States of America. And since the United States of America started to expand towards the east, now this constitutes an existential threat of the security of Russia. And these are some elements which could explain the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. And of course, I have mentioned also that some of agreements to stop some nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles that had been agreed upon by the former Soviet Union and the United States of America since 90s. The United States of America is going to abandon them. And this, of course, in the analysis of the Russia, these constitute a basis of worrying about the securities, because whenever the new membership of NATO, of course, the United States of America were also building some missiles in these countries such as Poland, Romania, Bulgaria. So this, of course, constitutes a threat to the security of Russia. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that this is going to provide enlightenment and clarity of this ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, of which we find that the United States of America is the one, and of course, and Europe are the ones who are also fueling and escalating this conflict. So roughly, I thank you, and if we have some comments and ideas, I welcome them, and thank you very much.